everyone, and welcome on into the Pulse Network. I'm Maggie Rulli here on TPN Following. It is the day where we are hitting our debt ceiling limit. And just as many analysts were predicting, it seems as if some 11th hour conclusion is sort of kind of being reached as I'm speaking. So breaking it down a little bit, I'm sure you've been following it with us and with pretty much every blog and website out there for the past month. But yesterday, the House passed a deal, a compromise on the debt ceiling, on the deficit issue going on in our country right now. They did pass this historic bipartisan deal. It wasn't necessarily happy on both sides. Republicans weren't all that pleased with it. Democrats weren't all that pleased with it. But that is why they call it a compromise. What does this mean for our country? We know that now at least that we've extended the debt ceiling. The United States government will get a whole lot more money to pay off its bills with. So initially that's a good thing, but obviously with compromises, some groups are going to be cut short. So taking a look at who's expected to get some of the biggest cuts, a couple groups in particular. The first one's sort of interesting. Over in the New York Times, they say that one group that is going to have pretty significant cuts is actually the Pentagon. They say that defense spending has some significant cuts to talk about. The Pentagon may have to cut around $550 billion over the next 10 years. And if a congressional committee fails to come up with the additional $1.2 trillion in savings by November, the Pentagon will have to shave off another $600 billion. So that's a whole lot of money that the Pentagon is being forced to deal with right now and to have some type of cuts. Now, New York Times does point out that for military purposes, nothing is immediate, that they're not going to cut costs and risk lives, but this is something that will happen over a 10-year span and something the Pentagon and the military defense budget is going to have to deal with. Another area that's getting quite a bit of buzz as far as what's being affected by the new debt plan is local and state governments. And this is more just the ramifications of what's happening at the federal level. Because yes, we're talking about federal cuts here, but those all trickle down to state cuts as well. Now, the mayor of Tallahassee, Florida, Mayor John Marks, is quoted in the New York Times as saying there's no question it's going to come down to the cities. I think we're all going to feel some pain as we go forward, but I think as everybody believes, you must do these kind of things to get the deficit under control. Gabrielle Giffords was that congresswoman who was shot in the head in Tucson just 7 months ago during that tragedy. But a mere 7 months later, she appeared on the floor of the House to a standing ovation. Everyone was clearly moved to see her there. And she did, in fact, give her vote. Now, she did cast a vote in favor of the bill to raise the nation's debt ceiling.